Welcome to the Art of Dress. Today I am happy to share with you jewelry for the sculptural artistry. So thank you so much for coming and thank you for subscribing. Here we have an example of the sculptural artistry in Frida Gustafsson, and of course you remember her from being our refined classic. So of course artistry exists in combination with style and coloring. So in the case of artistry for the sculptural, for jewelry, we're really talking about forms. And this is the best example of, or a very good example of, an extremely simple earring for sculpturals. So the earrings for the sculpturals are, as you see, both open like a hoop, and they are also three-dimensional. So that means that the forms have curvature. They're not flat. They're not like a coin. And then finally, that they are firm. As you can see, very firm. So sculptural artistry, these are the three aspects of all the forms for sculptural artistry. This doesn't affect only jewelry. This affects also things like jackets and other things that we're going to see when we do the styling video for sculptural. But from the standpoint of the shape of the symbol for sculptural, there are some other things to notice, and one of them is that it's obvious from looking at the shape that what you have is emphasis at the top. And the emphasis at the top you already saw in terms of eye makeup, you saw it in terms of hair, but I would like to point out that it's also that the reason that this is emphasizing the head in particular is because that's the most curved and solid part of the human body. And so this has a special implication for sculptural artistry later on when we see how there are different ways of accenting that, like we already saw with the bang in the hair. So first, let me take you through the most important part of jewelry for every sculptural, which is earrings. So we already saw a really simple pair of earrings. This is obviously less simple because the whole hoop is made up of beads. And the beads are graduated, and especially when it comes up to the point of connecting to the earlobe, you can see that they're using really tiny beads. And so that has the effect of making it seem more open and less congested, you might say. But this, as again, you will notice that there are all kinds of different variables here. So it's not just, are the forms open, are they firm, are they three-dimensional, but ultimately we're going to have to talk about how big is the whole earring. That's one part. How big are the tiny beads in the earring? Are they really big? Are they smaller, but not tiny? Are they large? And all of those things depends on different aspects of yourself. So, but this is where style and artistry and coloring start working together really closely. So in order to make it clear, we're just simplifying today and talking only about the different ways that you can accomplish sculptural artistry in jewelry, the jewelry conformation itself. So here is another example, and in this case it's slightly more complex than the last one in the sense that what you have is three-dimensional, firm and open, but you can see that it's formed in like sort of little rings, almost half rings, and or little curves. And at the point of joining all the curves, then you have color and you have little striations, I guess, little lines. And so this is a much more complex kind of jewelry, but it is also quite large in scale. And so this is why a harmonic is able to wear it, because the harmonic even gets more complicated than you find for many sculpturals. Now, Cindy Crawford is a sculptural, and you can tell that because of how fantastic this earring looks on her. And so this is very interesting. This is actually from the early 90s, I guess, this picture. But what you see is you have two circles. And by being interlaced like that, the two circles are forming an oval, which is her family shape, ovals, because she is of the classic family. She's an elaborate classic. And then each of those little rings has texture built into it, and it's texture all over it. So that's really amazing for her, really successful. And it just absolutely even makes her blouse. So it's just adorable. And again, she's wearing her hair in a sculptural way, so even better. Now when you come to this example of sculptural earrings, what you see here is something that starts out not great, because when you use a really thin hoop like this, often what you're heading for is a flat shape. But because of the fact that the beads are quite sculptural and quite detailed, that works out into turning this earring into a sculptural type of earring for her. And again, this shape is amazing for her because of the size that she can wear. And so you get a really powerful impact with this picture. Now, many times, especially for very elegant jewelry, what you'll find is that the center of the earring is achieved by having a lighter stone. And that gives the earring more of a dressiness to it by not being completely open, but it still gives that feeling of vacant or hollow or not filled. And but thank you again for Elizabeth Debicki. I should introduce her since we haven't seen her before, but she is an actress from Australia that you may know. I think she was in The Great Gatsby. And in that movie, she had dark hair. It was very interesting to see her with dark hair. Elle Fanning is also seen sometimes with dark hair, but here she's wearing her signature blonde. But she's doing something that is very, very common for sculpturals, and that is that when she wears earrings, she feels the need to add a necklace. So one thing that she's doing extremely well here is that her necklace is a lot less complex and therefore a less powerful statement than her earrings. Notice on her earrings how she has pearls around a pearl, or those might be diamonds around a pearl, and she has that twice because she has that happening, I think, at the ear and then at the pendant part, and then there's hollowness in the middle. And so she's reinforcing the hollowness with the little heart and reinforcing the pearls with her necklace, but obviously her necklace is a lot less significant than her earring in terms of how powerful of a statement it's making. And this is really what sculpturals are trying to do, because the emphasis of the sculptural is at the head in terms of artistry. So I'd like to introduce you here to Gloria Guinness. We haven't seen her before. She was a socialite from the 50s and I guess 60s who was married into the Guinness family. So that makes me assume that a fantastic jewelry ensemble is made of diamonds and whatever other stones she has in there. Now, she was well known for her style. She was very well thought of. And let me show you some of the things that she's doing that are so amazing for her. So as you may have guessed, but I don't know if anyone has ever described it, her style is the true dramatic. And yes, she is sculptural. And so what you're seeing in her earring, for example, is that it is very complex and also quite long. And the length of her earring is longer than the length of her necklace, which is very important because that's a pretty powerful necklace that she's trying to overpower with her earrings. So some of the things that are helping her out in that, and I think it would have been even more noticeable if you had seen her in person and in color, is that look at the bottom of her earring. And that's basically forming a triangle, which is her family shape. She is a true dramatic. And secondly, her earring is quite alpha, and she is a true dramatic, the most alpha style. So that's amazing for her. And then when you get to the top of the earring, you can see that those diamonds, I'm assuming they're diamonds, not rhinestones, that they're relatively small here. So that's making the top of it less significant than the bottom. And so it's alluding at least to this feeling of openness. Now she does more of this in her necklace. And so if you see those are triangular forms are forming the base of her necklace all the way around. And so this is giving her rhythm of ornament, which is what she would have as a true dramatic. And then in the center, you're seeing kind of, in the center of the necklace itself, you're seeing kind of like circles. And those circles, again, have small diamonds on the inside. So once again, it's alluding to the hollowness of sculptural jewelry. So another thing that's happening here is, if you recall, the formative principles for sculptural jewelry, not just open and not just three-dimensional, but also curvature. So curvature is what you're seeing at the base of her necklace. It's not a pendant that's giving you basically a straight line. It's a curved line all the way around at the bottom. And so that's, even though she has those little diamonds, they're insignificant. I mean, those little triangles, they're kind of insignificant compared to the circular aspect of her necklace. And so this is another example of really what a tremendous sense of artistry she had to have chosen this ensemble. So I was very excited to see this because it gives you such a good example of sculptural. And then one more thing, as you notice, she's wearing not just these killer earrings, but also a statement necklace in conjunction. So truly a sculptural impulse for styling. Now, when you come to a picture like this, again, this is a pretty powerful necklace, and truth be told, it's a pretty strong bead for her. But of course, the beads have spacers, like we talked about earlier, and that really helps to diminish the strength of this necklace. And it hangs in a curved line, like we said, like all beads actually do. And then another thing that's happening here is that she's wearing her hair dark. And so this is strengthening her head as compared to her necklace, which is an accent for her body. Now, another aspect of her head that's really powerful in this picture is her bangs. So a bang is such a powerful sculptural statement that truly no other artistry really wears bangs unless it's a composite that's getting that aspect of the sculptural. An architectural never wears a bang, and a harmonic only wears a side bang. But a strong, powerful bang like this is sculptural because it's bringing the attention to the top of her head. So this is actually bringing up the point that I alluded to earlier, which is that a bang is not the only way to do this. Obviously, it can be done with a hat, which we'll see in the artistry section, in the styling section of artistry, I should say. But a headband is another way of bringing this strong focus to the top of her head. So here you see the stylist, because this is obviously a professional picture, has put not only a headband on her, but also necklaces. So this is what you find with a sculptural. You will find that either there is a headband with earrings, or some kind of head ornament with earrings, or there is sometimes a headband with a necklace like you see here. And in fact, she's using two necklaces because there is actually a styling number, and that's what we're going to get into. But the sculptural styling number includes the number 3. So 1, 2, 3, 2 necklaces, or 1, 2, 3, 2 earrings and a headband. So you can see that this is very consistent with her style because it looks, with her artistry, because it looks so amazing on her. I just want to also, the stylist, whoever did this, was really probably sculptural themselves, because you notice that the beads have spacers, and you'll also notice that the little motif in the center of her necklace has a white part in the center and then orange around the outside, so it gives you the feeling of empty or hollow there. Well, I guess empty is probably a better word, because a hollow form might not show up, but it's empty in the center, just like a hoop. Now, the headband doesn't have to be used specifically as fabric, and here you can see Elle Fanning, another sculptural, as you know, is using her headband as jewelry, and it's actually got little gemstones in those flowers, so or little pieces of metal, I can't really tell, but really cute. So the sculptural artistry is always focused on the emphasis at the top of the form, but partly that's because it's giving you a three-dimensional and firm aspect. But unlike the architectural, which wasn't even curved, the architectural was flat, as you remember. But in this case, the sculptural really prefers open forms. And so you have to always try to make sure that in going three-dimensional and in going firm, you don't end up overpowering by using too much in the center. And so the last aspect of sculptural that we're going to talk about is the one in the next aspect, the next part of this series, which is going to be styling. And that's where you're going to see all the parts of sculptural pulled together in hair, makeup, jewelry, and then finally how much styling happens and what kind. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. But one last example of creativity and really having a really strong grasp of your artistry is when you look to Elle Fanning and what she has done in this really cute outfit. So first of all, if you look at the earrings are quite large, which is appropriate. And you can see that the inner gemstone there is a different color than the outside, and also not too strong, so that you really get the feeling of openness there on the inside. Now, the second thing that's happening is you see that the jewelry of the necklace itself is in two parts, and one is diamonds, I think, and the other, I'll just assume it's diamonds, and the other is in flowers. Now, if you watched the style profile or any of the fabric aspects of the True Classic, you saw that they wear florals. So by having flowers be part of her necklace, and also the flower being a completely different color from the necklace, it really ends up that these three daisies become like part of her print. And because they do that, they also diminish the necklace part of this necklace. So she ends up with earrings that are definitely stronger than the diamond aspect of her necklace. And so she's perfectly in sync with sculptural styling. Go Elle, because that's just amazing and so creative and so interesting. And as you can see, really, really effective. So thank you very much for sharing this with me today. It's very fun to talk about artistry, because artistry actually brings you into your art, and that means artistry awakens beauty. And so it's seeing someone in their style is very satisfying and, of course, important, because that's where truth comes in. But it isn't until you get to artistry that beauty awakens. And you'll often find that people are acknowledged as classic beauties simply because of artistry, and style barely entered into it. So next week, what we're going to do is look at the jewelry for the harmonic. And if you can see, this is kind of a progression, because the architectural was the most minimalist, and here you see the sculptural, which is kind of central. And finally, we're going to come to the harmonic, which is the more elaborated form of using jewelry. So I look forward to seeing you then, and thank you for coming today, and thank you for subscribing, and please take care.